If you watch my videos regularly, you probably would notice that I don't really do celebrity looks as such. Not like really I'm like avoiding it on purpose. It's just I don't own a telly, so I don't watch any of the I don't really see them on telly, and I don't particularly read celeb magazines. Like I'll get beauty magazines, but by the time the beauty magazines are published, the celeb looks in them or even the model looks or whatever, they're kind of old news. So if I do like a celeb look or a model look or whatever, it's something that I do because I really, really love and not because I'm trying to like keep up with the times or whatever. So with that in mind, I've decided to do a kind of a new series of tutorials, and it's going to be based off like celebs or models, but it's to do with eyebrows because lately so many more celebrities and models and just like kind of famous people in general have been coming out and embracing their fuller eyebrows or growing them back, or we've just been seeing like an influx of new kind of fresher faces with big eyebrows, and I love this. It's like particularly become really big in the last say year or two. I'm going to be doing just like a few tutorials on like fuller browed beauties, and I'm going to start off with someone whose face is everywhere at the moment, and I have a bit of a crush on her face as well at the moment, and it's Cara Delevingne. She fronts just about every campaign that there is at the moment, and she is just stunning, and I love her brows. I love that her brows are darker than her natural hair. Like they're such a statement, but they don't overtake her own, like everything else of her face is still beautiful, and you know, it's not totally overshadowed, which is very hard to get a nice balance with brows like that. But I'm going to do a makeup tutorial just inspired by kind of an amalgamation of some of her kind of looks or some kind of makeup looks that I've seen on her in different campaigns and just on different magazines and stuff, from the ones that I do have. I'm going to start off with her brows. I do have a base on. I have the Catrice Photo Finish liquid foundation on, which I just got today, and I actually really like it, but it's not really about the skin, it's more about the brows this. So I'm going to start off with brows, and they are not like a million miles away from my own. Hers are a little bit fuller at the end. I taper mine a little bit. I pluck a good bit underneath here to give myself just more space. I don't pluck anything say in from here on in, but I do on the way outwards. I do pluck outwards. So I'm going to just fill that in and show you how I do a nice full brow, but avoiding it becoming like a scouse brow or too overly defined, because that's the danger with full brows. So I'm just going to zoom in and start this off. I think when you're dealing with brows as well, it's really important to realise that you don't have to get them totally identical. They don't have to be like mirror images of each other. Always keep that silly but accurate saying in mind that they're sisters, not twins. And I'm going to use, again, I picked up another Catrice pencil when I was down at the pharmacy, and I'm just going to use this to start filling my brows. So to keep them from being too blocky or drawn in, brows can have especially when you pluck them, they seem to have more of a definite line underneath. It's because the hairs kind of grow sideways and you see that, but they tend to be a little bit more feathery and more natural looking at the top. So I'll always define the bottom but not the top, especially when you have a full brow, and I don't tend to, you know, fill in this area too much. I like this to be natural. I don't pluck anywhere around here. I don't tend to pluck over the top. The only where I pluck is from about here onwards, and then I pluck probably everything above that line. So my eyebrows would be a lot thicker, especially out here, if I didn't pluck. The only thing is I do lose eye space, so I like to lift my eye and open up my eye by plucking that amount. So it's up to you what you do. Always brush your eyebrows up to start off with, just to see the shape, and it usually will show off any gaps that you have as well. And then what I'm going to do is just draw a line just like that. So I've literally connected my lower part here to the end, and I'm filling in what I've pretty much gotten rid of from plucking. I like to kind of do the line on both sides rather than fill in one side and go back to the other side, because you're more likely to get it even by doing that. And then once you have the line in, just start to draw up little lines as if you're mimicking the hair. And then if there's any gaps, you can start to fill them in as well. And because my eyebrows kind of slant down a little bit at the end, I'm just going to fill in a little bit just up there at that top from where the arch is. And that's all I'm going to do. It's just thicken them out that little bit more. So that's fine. I'm not going to worry about getting them any more even because, like I said, you'd be all day trying to even them up perfectly. And then what I love lately is this, again, it's by Catrice. I think they do fab brow products. They also have a powder that I don't have on my desk, but I love it as well. But they have this eyebrow filler. It's just a tinted gel. It's a brown mascara essentially, but you know, you use it for the eyebrows. You can use a brown mascara if you want. The ones for the eyebrows just tend not to kind of dry or be quite as dry once they set. Just brush it up. I love to brush my eyebrows up, particularly in the centre, and I noticed that Cara does this a lot as well. She tends to have kind of wild looking eyebrows right in here in the centre, and I like that as well. Now if you feel like your eyebrows aren't dense enough, if you really want to get them much more intense, you can definitely use a powder throughout the body of the brow. I'm not going to bother because you know, Cara can go from a little bit more natural to that really dense, intense kind of darkened body of her eyebrows, but it's up to yourselves, whatever you fancy. And still just go in with your pencil at that stage and fill them in. And again, you can use powder if you want to get it more intense, but powder will definitely fill in the body a bit more. Now for the rest of the eye makeup, Cara tends to keep it quite simple enough, a little bit kind of grungy or rocker chic without being too overdone. She likes a bit of cold pencil and a bit of liner. But what I'm going to do is go in with a concealer, and then I'm just going to neaten up underneath the brow. So just mirroring that shape I created underneath. That'll just clean it up and make it a little bit more defined. If there's any spots or blemishes around your eyebrows, you can do a little bit of concealing on them too. And next I'm going to go into my Illamasqua Hollow Pigment. I love the kind of natural smoky eye effect that Cara goes for. She tends to darken, but very lightly darken underneath the lower lids as well as all around the top lid, but it tends not to be too intense when it's just like, you know, unless she's on the red carpet or whatever. So I'm just going to use this as a base, and I'm going to go into the same brush I just used to apply my concealer. It's just a generic stiff synthetic brush. It'll be for either eyeshadow or concealer, whatever you have in hand, and I'm going to use that underneath the lower lid and just pop it back and forth. You can bring it down a bit further than you normally would as well. And then for eyeshadows, I'm going to just go into one of my Inglot palettes here. I'm going to keep any little bit of a highlight that I do matte. So I'm using this guy here, which is just a very light cream colour, and I'm going to pat that lightly over where I put that concealer. It's really just to set that concealer in place. And I'm going to put a little bit as well onto the inner corner of my eye. And then using a tapered blending brush or a tapered eye brush. This is by All In Professional. It's just a very narrow tipped blending brush. I'm going to go into this just a very light brown powder and start applying it first underneath the lower lid. So I want it to be more like a shadow rather than really dark and defined. It's a little bit grungy, not necessarily a really girly pretty look. And then I'm going to go into the same brown again. I'm going to apply that above my crease and just go back and forth and just deepen that area a little bit. And don't be frightened about bringing this quite high up, because it's such a, you know, it's a light enough colour. It's quite a transitionary colour. It's you know, it's not going to totally overtake the eye. And then I'm going to go into a darker brown, which is just a few shades darker, nothing too crazy. It's still quite a medium brown, and I'm going to start darkening either side of my eyelid and blend it lightly in with that crease colour as well. And I'm just going to go back and forth and do the same step on each eye as go along, and that's just I always find it kind of keeps everything a little bit more balanced when I do it that way. And then I don't know if you can tell when I'm avoiding the very centre of the lid. This is just to give a little bit more dimension to the eyes. And then once I have that either side of my eyelids, I'm going to go back and forth very lightly just in that indentation of the crease. I'm not going anywhere near as high up as I did with the first brownie colour. And then for underneath my lower lids or my lower lash line, I'm going to go into that kind of medium brown again with a angled brush. This is just a generic, it's a paint brush. I'm going to use that to darken the lash line. And then for my top lash line, something that I actually rarely do is draw an eyeline, or draw my eyeliner with just kohl pencil. I nearly always use liquid or gel or something, or else if I use kohl I might just smudge it in, but I'm going to actually try and draw a bit of a line and not smudge it too much. I will soften it, but I'm not totally smudging it out like I would normally do to make a smoky eye. So you just want to make sure the tip of your pencil is quite fine. If you need to keep topping it throughout application, do. I'm not necessarily going to go all the way into the inner corner, maybe start about 2/3 of the way out, or 2/3 of the way in rather, and keep it really close to the lash line on the inner section, which can be hard. It can be hard getting it right in, but you can always just have a cotton bud on hand to correct any mistakes, or just use your fingertip if it's clean. And what I'm going to do is kick it up at the end, which is something I see on Cara quite a bit. And I'm drawing that line to continue on from my lower lash line, and then just have it come in and meet the top eyeliner line. So just like that, and what I'm going to do is really, really lightly, rather than draw a line along my lower lash line, I'm going to kind of bounce the pencil along the root of the lashes. So I'm leaving loads of little dots to define it a little bit without actually drawing on a pencil, because I think that can be really harsh and really obvious sometimes. Again, I'm only kind of doing the outer half of my lower lash line. And then once you have the eyeliner in place, what I would do is go in with a matte black eyeshadow and your angled brush again. I'm just going to bounce that over the eyeliner to keep it in place. It'll also mattify the waxiness of the kohl pencil as well. And if there's any gaps in between the pencil and your eyelashes, it'll help fill that in. And you can extend it a tiny bit over the line that you drew with the pencil as well, just to kind of diffuse it a little bit. Again, making it a little bit softer, a little bit imperfect. And you can do the same really lightly underneath the lower lash line. I'm going to pull them down into each other just to fog it out a little bit. And just to finish off any eyeliner, then I'm going to tightline but not put any eyeliner on the actual bottom waterline, just underneath those top eyelashes on that little ridge of skin. So the way I like to do this is place it there on the inner ridge or the inner rim on the top, close my eyes and then just pull it over. And then I'm going to finish off with loads of mascara. So I'm going to use my False Lashes Extreme Black by MAC and coat top and bottom lashes. But I'm going to do it in a way that I support the eye shape, because Cara has quite a lovely almond shaped eye, so I'm going to pull the lashes out and mimic the kind of shape of that eyeliner as well. And just really work the mascara into the roots before pulling up. And then for the bottom lashes, I'm going to use the tip of my mascara wand, but getting rid of any excess guck at the end of the wand so there's not a huge amount on it. And then just use that to lightly brush down the hairs. I'm not really going all the way into the inner corner, again it's the outer kind of 2/3. And then I always run my finger against the end of the lashes to get rid of any excess. If you make a boo-boo, just get rid of it either when it's really wet or let it dry. It's the in-between that tends to smudge. So either be really quick or else let it dry, and then when you do get it off, it'll literally just flake away and it doesn't do much damage or make much of a mess. So to finish off the rest of the look, I'm going to just mattify the skin in certain areas a little bit, just so that it's not too shiny, just using my Mineralized Skin Finish Natural. I don't want to cover the skin or do anything too unnatural with it. And I often see a nice wee glow in the centre of her face, so it's probably just from her age. I think she's only 20, so she probably does get a little bit oily, just in a few areas. And her face is a lot teenier than mine. She's not particularly like, she's not emaciated looking or anything like that. She just has a lovely tiny little elfin face. So what I'm just going to do is add a little bit of a contour. without really adding too much of a blusher, because I haven't really noticed her wearing a lot of like cheek colour or anything like that in her own day-to-day life, like when she's running about. So I'm going to add a little bit of my favourite primal blusher by LetzMakeup, which was discontinued, but just get any really natural light blusher. I'm going to sculpt out a little bit underneath my cheekbones. She's a strong but a lovely jawline, so I'm just going to apply a little bit of this along here as well. And then I'm going to apply a little bit of the same contour using that brush that I used on my eyes earlier on and cleaning it off, and just contour my nose a little bit. She doesn't have the tiniest nose in the world, but it's definitely, there's not a massive contrast between the end of her nose and the start, like between her bridge and the tip. She has a wide enough nose, but it's just really nice and kind of balanced. So I'm just going to do a little bit of contouring at the end of mine. And then to finish off, I'm going to keep the lips nude, even though we see her in bright lips all the time. That's always on the red carpet or in a campaign. So I'm going to pop a natural enough, this is again by Catrice, it is the Lost in Rosewood lip liner. Her lip shape is, she has a defined Cupid's bow. It's not that round, it's a little bit more pointed. And then it kind of swoops down to meet the edge of her lips. And she has a fuller bottom lip as well than top lip, which is kind of normal for a lot of people. Yeah, and I'm going to leave it at that. So if this was a dry lip liner, I'd put a little bit of gloss or something on it, but it's not. It's actually quite creamy, so it's fine by itself. And that's the entire look. That's the Cara Delevingne kind of inspired makeup look. I'll put pictures of her as well as this on my blog, just so you'll see kind of where I'm getting the inspiration from. And of course a full list of products on the blog. So I hope you enjoyed this, guys. I'm going to do probably maybe one of these fuller browed ones a week. So I have a feeling I might be doing Lily Collins or someone like that next. I definitely want to do her soon. I think she is just gorgeous. But in the meantime, there'll be other videos in between, and I'll chat to you all really soon. So thanks a million for watching, guys. Slán!